Okay guys, in today's video we're going to be going over some interesting information that I have recently come across that I want to relay to you and get your opinions on. The first has to do with a tweet that comes from infamous insider Titix, where he tweets 21% hashtag PS5. Not going to spend too much time talking about that, but I do want to just briefly mention it here at the beginning of the video. We're also going to be talking about Hideo Kojima and his next game and how he is apparently thinking about a horror game. All signs are pointing to Hideo Kojima's next game being a horror game, which sounds very exciting considering what happened to PT. So we're going to go over that, and we are also going to take a few moments here to talk about the new information that has come out about Final Fantasy VII Remake and how it seems as though they have already begun work on Part 2 of the remake. So we're definitely going to go over that. I think it's safe to say that Final Fantasy VII Remake is easily one of the most anticipated PS4 titles going into next year. So definitely want to take some time to talk about that. But starting here with Titix and what he tweeted out, 21% hashtag PS5. And what's interesting about this is it comes not too long after we got the continued rumor that the PlayStation 5 is in fact the more powerful console over Project Scarlett, at least based off of the dev kits that are currently out there at the moment. This is something that we have continually talked about on my channel, and that's why I don't want to spend too much time on this. Also, the fact that we don't know what this means. Now, I tried to be a little funny here, and I retweeted this saying I think we all know what this means, but of course, none of us actually know what this tweet is trying to say. But if we had to assume, if we had to infer, I think it's safe to say that what Titix is saying with this tweet is that, yeah, the PlayStation 5 is 21% more powerful, 21% faster, 21% something over Project Scarlett. Although it could mean nothing, I wouldn't put too much stock into it. I wouldn't look into it too much. It's just a single tweet that maybe doesn't mean anything. But it's still funny to think about. Maybe this is just his way of kind of adding fuel to that fire that is clearly burning somewhere that has to do with the PlayStation 5 being the better performing, faster console, whatever you want to call it, over Project Scarlett. But we're just going to have to wait to get official confirmation. I just wanted to mention that here at the beginning because, man, wouldn't that be an interesting thing? I do want to also say that, if I'm being honest, I don't believe that. I don't believe that either console will have a 21% advantage over the other. That just seems a little too high based off of everything we know about PlayStation 5 so far and Xbox Project Scarlett. They just seem too similar in too many areas to, for one of them to have a 21% advantage, because that is pretty significant. I predict maybe a 5 to 10%, maybe 15%, but anything over 20, man, that's going to be a big deal. So we'll wait to see about that. But moving on from that, we're going to be talking about Hideo Kojima's next game and how he seems to be making it very clear that the next game he plans on making, whatever it may be, is going to be a horror game, which is extremely exciting for very obvious reasons. Now, I'm going to read the tweet that he put out here that really makes it clear that whatever his next project is going to be in the horror genre. So he put out, "As to make the scariest horror game, I'll watch the scary movies in order to awaken my horror soul. The Eye is the horror movie I rent when making PT, but was too scary to finish watching. The package is scary, so I rented the disc only. Will I be able to finish watching?" So there you go. Even though it's not the most obvious tweet, I mean, in a way it kind of is. A lot of people picked up on it, but what he's basically saying is that he plans on making a horror game, and he's going back to watch the movie that he watched for inspiration originally when making PT. And he's going to try to finish watching it this time. This is all extremely exciting because we all know what PT was, and we all know how much potential was there for Kojima to make what very well could have been the greatest horror game ever made in the AAA space. I mean, Silent Hills was destined to be something truly special, and just looking at PT, just watching it, and especially for those who got to play it, who were lucky enough, that there was something truly unique and truly special there. And I'm not just saying that because it's Kojima, as many people want to believe. I'm saying that because, and I'm sure anybody who played PT can attest to this and would back me up, there's something truly like next level horrifying about that game and everything that was surrounding it. And we don't have to dive into the whole conversation of what happened between Kojima and Konami, which was extremely unfortunate. I wish it never had happened, but it did, and who knows, maybe this is going to work out for the best. Death Stranding is an amazing game so far. I'm loving the experience. I haven't finished it yet, but I can assure you that I would be over the moon excited if we find out that Kojima is officially making a horror game for his next project, what would be even more interesting about it. Well, there's two things. First of all, you'd have to immediately wonder, how many similarities would there be between PT and what Silent Hills was going to be versus whatever this next project he is currently, conceptualizing and thinking about in his head. How many similarities will be there? Something tells me that if you read into this tweet, maybe it's reading into it a little bit too much, but the fact he's going back to watch the original movie that inspired him for PT tells me that he's looking for that same type of inspiration. Maybe that's a little subtle hint that whatever he does end up making next, if it is in fact going to be horror, it's going to be very similar in many ways to what PT and Silent Hills was or was going to be. And that is extremely exciting. The other thing that's really interesting, and this is kind of random but still funny to think about, is not too long ago, before Death Stranding came out, we saw some reports coming in about Keanu Reeves visiting Kojima Productions, and Kojima and Keanu Reeves took some pictures together, and a lot of people were speculating, wait, does this mean that Keanu Reeves is in the game, or or what's going on with that, right? And I'm pretty sure Keanu Reeves is not in Death Stranding. I haven't finished the game yet, so I don't know if there's some kind of major, ending there where Keanu Reeves shows up. I'm not anticipating that. I don't think that's what happens. But he did talk about, Kojima that is, did talk about how originally he was thinking about getting, or I think he was recommended, or something along the lines of Keanu Reeves was supposed to play Mads Mikkelsen's part as Cliff, but he ended up going with Mads Mikkelsen, obviously. And he also expressed how he would love to work with Keanu Reeves in the future on a different project. Maybe, just maybe. I mean, could you imagine for a second a AAA horror game made by Kojima Productions starring Keanu Reeves? I want you to just picture that in your head for a second there, because to me, guys, I can't even put into words how amazing that would be. All right, I'm sure most of you would find that extremely exciting as well. That's just where my mind goes. Again, maybe I'm letting it race a little bit too much here. It's going to be a very long time until we hear about Kojima's next game, but one thing we do need to point out is how quickly Death Stranding was made and how it's seemingly a very bug-free game, at least the majority of what I've seen and played of it is so far. So what this tells me is that we're going to eventually get a horror game from Kojima, and so at this point I want you guys to let me know down in the comments, what do you think about this, right? Is this something that you'd be extremely excited for? If you are, do you think it'll be similar to PT or what Silent Hills was going to be? And do you think there's just the slightest chance that it could end up starring Keanu Reeves? Let me know down below. I'm going to be really interested to see what you guys have to say about this one. But taking just a moment here to go over the Final Fantasy VII Remake news, the director of the game, Tetsuya Nomura, has actually come out and talked about how they're already working on part 2 of this game, and is assuring fans and people who are looking forward to it and trying to, make people relax a little bit by letting them know that for anybody who's worried that because this game is being broken up into different parts, that the part that they're going to play here in Midgar is going to be too small, or it's not going to have enough content, or it's not big enough. He is assuring fans that it's actually massive. In fact, it was so big that he had to kind of reel it in a little bit and say this is getting a little bit too much here, which is kind of crazy to think about. So he's just essentially saying, look, you don't have to worry about there not being enough content in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1. There's going to be plenty, and they're already starting work on Part 2, so for anybody who's maybe a little bit nervous that they're going to take as long to make Part 2 as it took them to make Part 1, that's most likely not going to be the case. And he also talked a little bit about boss battles and was excited to let people know that there's actually going to be new bosses as well to kind of keep things fresh. So there you go. Final Fantasy VII Remake, easily one of the most anticipated games that's coming out for PS4 next year. And I think it's going to do absolutely huge numbers, and I think it's going to review really well based off of everything we've seen so far with the previews. Fans are definitely very excited for this one, so this should actually boost your excitement knowing that there's going to be a ton of content here. It's going to be massive, even though it is Part 1. It's going to be absolutely massive, and as somebody who's never really played any of the Final Fantasy games, and I've never really been too into them, I may just give this one a shot. I'm sure a lot of you would like to see how I would react to it as somebody who's never played a Final Fantasy game before. So yeah, we'll see what happens as we go into 2020. It's going to be a packed year, no doubt about that. But that does it for the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts about all this stuff down in the comments below. What do you think about Titix tweeting out 21% hashtag PS5? What do you think about Hideo Kojima teasing his next project and clearly letting us know that it's going to be in the horror genre? And what do you think about this news coming out here about Final Fantasy VII Remake being significantly bigger, obviously, than the original game, but also it's not going to be an issue in terms of them getting out Part 2 and them working on it? Let me know your thoughts down below. Leave the video a like if you did enjoy it or if you found it informative. It really helps it out. Lets me know you guys enjoy the content. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.